Greetings and welcome back to the Home Slice. If you're wondering why I sound like a frog, I got really sick like 2 or 3 days ago. Got a lot of rest and I'm beginning to recover. I feel great. I'm kind of bored because I took so much time to rest. But my throat and the cough, it just lasts forever, hey? So hopefully I'll be able to boost the volume on the final video enough for you to hear me. But this week, I'm starting the second episode of the small EDC series. I got some little slicers. I'm sort of exploring how I like fixed blade EDC, trying out my first high vanadium steels, trying out fixed blade EDC for the first time, trying out some incredible, awesome Spyderco folders that also have small edge length to compare the convenience of a folding knife versus the fun and durability of a fixed blade EDC. Last time the Spyderco Dragonfly in super blue steel took on a cleaver made by my friend Jason at Blank Blades. And this time we have another Spyderco, the Sun and Moon Chaparral. I've always wanted a Chaparral. I've always wanted to try out CTS XHP. This is just a gorgeous Spyderco knife. I think of this as being like just your sort of like ideal weekender in your pocket, enough blade length to get things done, but compact enough that it feels like it has a very small footprint. I also sort of like the Chaparral because I feel like Sal Glesser did this beautiful design work on the Endura and the Delica, but they seem like the everyman's sort of work knife. And the Chaparral to me strikes me as a piece of Sal Glesser design work that he just wanted like a slicer. You know, this is like Sal's like classy slicer. And I think there's a cool element to that. I also like the sort of leaf-shaped blade design, but I kind of like how it doesn't quite reverse tanto there, but the curve sort of changes right here and becomes a little steeper to make that tip a little more robust, but you've still got a real nice near spear point sort of shape. It's just a real tasteful shaping and design with a lot of attention to detail, as you'd expect from Mr. Sal Glesser himself. The Spyderco Chaparral is going to be facing off against another fixed blade by my friend Jason. This one with a more leafy shaped blade rather than the cleaver design. Fully rounded handles on every side. Rough burlap micarta that's been taken to a nice kind of semi-gloss finish. Tapered for a pinch grip if you like that. And just a beautiful little 10V leaf. These blades are both hardened to about 63.5 Rockwell. Jason's capable of more. He's sent me a Nikiri that is 66.5 Rockwell, but this was an earlier heat treatment he had, and I suggested to him that he leave some of them kind of on the tougher side of things so that we could test out dual grit edges at the low and high hardness. This thing has an insane slicing geometry. It is 4/1000ths of an inch behind the edge. It is almost invisible at the tip. And you would not believe the sort of slicing geometry. The reason Jason sent me these, and he doesn't want these to be representative of his work, is because they're actually blims. There's a little problem with the grinding machine and a little problem with the stamping machine that caused the letters not to be lined up here and stuff. So this is not representative of his work overall, but even so, this is like such a beautiful slicer. I'm so excited to try it out. They're both wearing the same dual grit edge that the first knives in this series were wearing, which is 400 grit FEPA Veneve Diamond Waterstone on one side and 800 grit on the other side. I've been finding it's a really nice, crisp, it's kind of like a mid grit to fine grit rather than a coarse to fine, but it has really good edge stability properties and deburring, I've been finding. So A little bit closer to one another on the edge length side of things. I'll actually put up the statistics on these two beauties right now. I do not know yet what the best score that these tested out at the beginning was, because I've been finding I just find more joy in trying it practically and seeing what it does first, and sort of taking a blind best test and coming back to it after the use to see what the original best score was. So that's what I've done with these. I'll unveil that at the end of the video, and we will find out which two blades will go on to the small slicer semi-final. These are all the coolest sort of small blade knives that I have at the moment. And throughout this process, I'm sure I will find out what is sort of the threshold of like the smallest useful single carry blade for me and my preferences. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. What I do know in terms of initial sharpness is that they are both shaving quite easily. They are both very easily. Woo, that Chaparral got sharp. They both have heaps of grab, a pleasing kind of cloudy-ish edge finish. And let's check them on paper, but I assume they will be doing some nice, wow, flawless, absolutely flawless cursive cuts. Pushing through on a cursive cut. Just really beautiful dual grit edges on these two beauties. You can feel that the edge is a bit thinner on the 10V, but this Chaparral is no slouch whatsoever. Oh man, they're laser beams, guys. They're laser beams.
Open ears and an open heart.
All right, we're wrapped up on carrying these two beautiful slicers, and I have to say, this is like such a difficult choice to make. I think that this 10V slicer that Jason has sent me from Blank Blades is probably the sliciest knife I have ever had or experienced in my life, which is incredible. And thank you, Jason. The geometry is so thin, the curve of the edge is so nice, and it takes just such an aggressive edge. It's just hard to match it on the front of sliciness. And yet, Spyderco has done such a good job on this Chaparral. Like, they left it thin behind the edge. The steel they selected worked really well. I really enjoyed the dual grit edge that this took. And the ergonomics are super awesome. That it's actually really hard to make a call between these two. I like them both so much. They're really evenly matched. So look how similar the profiles are. Okay, let's get into some differences. Obviously, the carry size of the Chaparral is very small, and that's really nice. So that's a difference. The handles, however, are a little bit slick. They're probably a little bit more slick than what I would naturally want to, but I think they've left this G10 at a polished state because it just looks really beautiful, which it does. It looks rad. It really looks good. But I think that the grip characteristics on this burlap micarta are just a bit better. Obviously, you're going for rounded feel here, which I like, and you're going for sculpted ergonomics here, which I also like, so it makes it hard to make a decision between the two. I think the surprise of this competition is that this Chaparral, I think, actually took the dual grit edge slightly better, And the edge that this thing had to begin with was insane. That coupled with the fact that this sort of patina finish on this knife creates just a tiny bit of friction meant that when I would go out and trim flax in my driveway, or different various things where there's a lot of compression at different spots, the Chaparral actually started out at a point where it was cutting better. But that said, the edge retention on the 10V I think is pretty clearly better at 63 Rockwell. So now at the end, I think in terms of the felt sharpness level, the 10V is sort of edging out the XHP that's in this, but actually they've both sort of been neck and neck. I don't know how to choose between two blades that are such wonderful slicers, but if I have to choose one, which I do because I put myself in this tournament position, I think I'm going to get more carry time on this thing. I'm probably like never going to get rid of this knife that Jason has given me because it's so slicey and beautiful. This Chaparral, however, belongs to Sal Glesser and Spyderco and has been sent to me to do some edge testing on, which will be coming up, and therefore my time with it is limited. So if I want to carry something into the next round, I think probably the Chaparral. Although I don't know that aside from ownership that there's something to really set one of these apart from the other in a big way. I really, really like both of these blades. And it'll also be interesting to see how the edge retention on this stainless steel lasts for another week of carry. This stainless steel being Carpenter CTS XHP. I think the one other thing that leans it in the direction of the Chaparral is that I'm carrying these as a single carry option, and the tip is a little bit thicker, and there are times that I became a bit nervous with the tip on this one. You'd be cutting something and it would just bend a little bit, and I was like, when almost 64 Rockwell 10V bends, it's like, I hope that's gonna stay. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure the heat treatment on here that Jason's done is wonderful, but it does have a lot of flex there. So if I'm gonna have one thing in my pocket and not just carry this as like a slicer where I'm carrying something else as like a harder work knife, then I think the Chaparral is a good option. These are how these guys are cutting paper as of now. Very good on the blank blades. 10V leaf-shaped blade. It's not, it is push cutting a little bit. Oh yeah. It's push cutting better than most anything that I have tested for this long and done this much work with. Spyderco Chaparral, not quite push cutting, but nearly. It like tore and then reinitiated, but a very clean slice, very clean slice. It's so funny to watch myself do these blind tests after the fact. Guys, I'm so sorry. The letters are so hard to read. I didn't realize because I haven't watched the footage because I wanted this to be a surprise, but I will definitely stop turning that light on because it really just destroys the visibility of those numbers. This 10V had really good performance. I would guess it's in the low, like 100s somewhere. Okay, 147. I think that makes sense with the use that I did on this 10V blade. And coming up on the Chaparral, different day. I sharpened this on a different day. But also a very keen dual grit edge on this Chaparral. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was lower. Oh, not quite. It's 151. We're going to pass this guy on to the next level of the tournament to face off against actually the cleaver blade in this 10V. And see if it has what it takes to hold an edge out that long and how the designs compare. If you want to see the last episode where I carried a Blank Blades EDC fixed blade cleaver against a Spyderco Dragonfly, I'll put the link on screen now. For the rest of you guys, I will say peace out from the home slice. You guys take care. Bye.